Alright, the first time in a long time, because I don't think, maybe even ever, I feel like I've done this before, but I'm doing the complete comic haul on the day of. So usually I'll have this filmed already and uploaded on November 1st, or the first of the next month. But that's not the case here. Let's get right into it with a Nick Travers graphic novel, Crossroad Blues, written by Ace Atkins with artwork done by Marco Finnegan. Now again, this one, like I said before, and what I mean by that, well, I do film these videos before. So what happened, I don't know why I said that so awkwardly. I do film these videos in 2 parts, or 3, usually 2. It's whatever comes in, a little pile that comes in, I'll do a little video, and then the last one comes in, and I do that video, so that's 2 parts. But then this is just 2 parts squeezed into one, and rather than just take those 2 videos and squeeze them together, I film a whole new video. Same books, just a whole new video. But like I'd said before, in part 1, I did find out that there was the hard way too, I found out that there was a first novel, a graphic novel in this series. Because I thought this was it. And I do partially blame League of Comic Geeks. That was the website I looked it up on, because Amazon was just showing you everything. Obviously, they would do this, but it was showing you everything Ace Atkins had done. And so this is a Nick Travers graphic novel. This is basically just the novel turned into a graphic novel. It's a graphic novel adaptation of his novels. So on Amazon, they showed you the Ace Atkins series of novels. And I think if I scrolled down long enough, I'd find, maybe there's not that many, but it was kind of one of those things. So I was like, you know what, do without it. I'm pretty sure this is all that there is anyways. I had no reason to think that also. Now this also, one thing I did forget to mention, this was indeed, and maybe I did mention that, this was indeed the book that last month when I was showing off deep cuts, I was like, there was another graphic novel I had seen out of the blue. No pun intended. And it was like, it seemed like it was also about jazz and whatever, and so I was going to get that along with deep cuts, so I couldn't remember what the book was called. This was what it was. I almost want to say that this was about jazz. I could be wrong, though. Just because it's called blues, I can't tell. I'm kind of doing like, skimming it here and there. It doesn't seem like it. Okay. Yeah, Crossroad Blues, a Nick Travers graphic novel. So this one I did get on the Kindle. The one here. I was going to get a hard copy, but it was saying 12 gauge hard copies of the, and I know it's an imprint of image, but it would be, instead of showing the spine here's image, it would just show 12 gauge. And it was weird because it was like, why are you specifying 12 gauge? Does that mean it's not even an imprint of image, so it just shows 12 gauge, like how some Vertigo books will just show Vertigo and not DC? That's what I thought was going to be the case here. And it was cheaper on the Kindle. So you know what? We'll get in the Kindle, and I'll have to wait. So there we go. Even though it wouldn't have been the last book anyways. But, did what I did. And I'll show the artwork again, because I feel like I forgot to. And you can do a different page. So this is a digest-sized graphic novel. I don't mind this format for reading graphic novels, because it's manageable, and it's, first of all, not the smallest graphic novel from Image that I own. That goes to, I believe a series called Martha Valee, but that's mostly, and what's weird about that book is even there is dialogue, but it's in a different language. It's indecipherable. That's what they were going for, so it's mostly just the action. It's mostly just the panels with, there's no dialogue you have to read. But when you do have to read, when it has dialogue in a normal graphic novel, I don't know why I said we have to read, a normal graphic novel with, it's Long Hot Summer, and that one's like a small, like pocket book, like literally called a pocket book. If you've ever seen like those really small novels that you can sometimes get. Okay, let's move on. I can't talk today apparently, so I probably should be going. But no, that sometimes I just like, I don't know what it is. I just can't talk. It's like my brain decides to kick out at the last minute. What I was trying to say is that, like, Perks being a wall, I should just say what it was. I knew what I was getting at, but Perks being a wallflower, that's the edition that I have is a pocketbook. It can literally fit in your pocket, so it's not even as big as your average novel is. So Long Hot Summer is basically that, but it's a graphic novel, and thus, because you have to get all the panels in there and all the dialogue, so you factor in all that, and it's basically the size of a manga almost. And so the print is even harder to see because there's going to be more dialogue, because it's how graphic novels are than the manga. Because the manga can have, but the way that manga does, the lettering is accommodating for the size of the book. Long Hot Summer, I was almost thinking it wouldn't be, and it could very well not have been. But even that, I was flipping through it, and I could read it just fine. There's no issues there. But it's just a small book. And like, at that point, like, what's the point? Like, what are we doing here? I think the digest size, if you want to make your graphic novel smaller for whatever reason, that's the way to go. Like, Image Comics, Skybound Comet, all those are digest sized, and that works out just fine. And if it, like, I just think the pocketbook size graphic novels are kind of weird. Kind of a weird concept if you think about it, because it's not like a novel. It works. You just put all text there. But for graphic novels, you gotta factor in the artwork, the panels, the lettering, the dialogue. If you have more dialogue, you want to have less dialogue because you're accommodating for the smaller size. It's a lot of that is what you gotta factor in. That's why also the DC Digests, what they call them now, compact comics. Those ones I'm kind of like split on whether or not I think that's a good idea or not. Like truly a good idea, other than it's more affordable. And I like that. I like how they're all $10. I love that. But it's like the size of the book. I'm like, reading that's gonna be a pain in the ass for some people, and I'd hate that for that to be the only way that people read comics. Like literally the only way is through the DC compact comics. But anyways, moving on to the next book, and that is Superstar, written by Kurt Busiek with artwork done by Stuart Immonen, who's a penciler. Again, inker this time. Wade Von Grabadger, and then Jeremy Cox is the colorist. Jeremy is spelled that way. Then you got the artwork here. I'm sure reading it would be just fine, like this for a Long Hot Summer, but it's just kind of one of those things that, again, why make it that small? I don't get it. Like digest-sized books, I understand why you make them that small and why you choose to So apparently there's 2 issues here, because it says for a character who's only appeared in 2 solo stories. So I guess it collects 2. It better collect 2 issues. It better. Because there's a bunch of extras at the end. Kind of flipping through all that. Hey, what's this book? Free Agents, Doi. So Superstar appears in Free Agents. Free Agents is the follow-up to Superstar, and I found out the hard way. It just appears in a few issues, and I don't think it was anything like I had to get this graphic novel, but it was $10, so why not? And I do want to see if it says anything about what it collects. You would think it would. So 2 issues here, I guess, maybe. Because I know it was also like a one-shot. Yeah. But yeah, here's the artwork for Superstar. Kurt Busiek is a writer that I'm not the biggest fan of, but so why did I buy Free Agents? Well, I'm a big Fabian Nicieza fan. bigger than I am with Crepusaic. I don't know what it is about Crepusaic. And what's kind of funny is that they have collabs before. It's not just free agents. So it's kind of like, well, you know, like, what's the another one that? Like Charles Soule. For, you don't like Charles Soule, but you like Scott Snyder. You know, it's kind of, well, they come together for Undiscovered Country, which that's a bad example also, because they don't collab that many times. And didn't collab that many times, as to my knowledge. I think it was just Undiscovered Country. But I know it is kind of weird, but it's how I am, I guess. I don't know what it is. Yes, I know what it is. I don't know how to explain it. Other than just it's his writing style I don't vibe with. I like maybe Nicieza that I think does it well, and then Crepusaic I'm like, not so much. It's more like it's definitely an unpopular opinion. I do like his Marvels though. His Marvel series is obviously like that's as good as everyone says it is, and all that. But Trinity, I was unimpressed with. The most recent time I read it, I didn't even finish it. I decided to just give up on it. Astro City, I also was unimpressed by. So I think that perfectly sums up how I feel about Crepusaic without having to explain it too much. Again, even I don't know why. Even I feel like, well, you gotta explain yourself, and then I can't really explain myself. But yeah, this one apparently just like collects the one shot, maybe 2 issues. I don't know. It's just an extensive gallery. Weird. But this is also $10. It's just a thin book. And the only reason why I mentioned that is because the next book up is The Shadow Planet, which is $12.99. Same amount of pages as is Superstar, and it only came out a year after. Now, that's not me complaining about Image Comics pricing. I just thought it was worth mentioning. Because for the most part, like you'll see the next book. The next book is actually longer than this is, and it's also $12.99, same size too. So it's just kind of, for the most part, I do like Image Comics pricing. Like, I think they are the most fairly priced. I would say like 99% of the time. But then you get things like this where it's like, okay, why can this have been $10? But even then, that's not that bad. It's not like this would be. Honestly, much as I hate to add to. I feel like Marvel this would be. I don't know why I can't think words right now, and it's so annoying. Like I'm trying to say like, add more fire to the flames, but that doesn't make any sense. But Marvel, this would be $15.99, and it would be the same price as how the trades used to be, but now it's like $17.99. And Image is like flat rate is $16.99. If it sometimes they'll get $17.99 for no reason. Like some of the Massiveverse comics are $17.99 now for no real reason. And it's the same amount of pages as it has always been when it was $16.99, but just they increased it to $17.99. But that's only sometimes. That's where that 1% comes in. It's just those like confusing. Why is this one more expensive now? It was this price before, you know, that kind of thing. It's not with Marvel comics where it's $19.99 for no reason. No, the most I've been scratching my head over is the $17.99. That's just $1 more, and that's fine for me, in my opinion. I think even then, like Amazon has, unless it's a new release, Amazon has accommodated for that, and they've put it at like $15.99 or $16.99, so that extra it's only $2 off. It makes up for it because you're not paying $17.99. Again, it's $1 more. But Marvel, what they do is they'll just like out of nowhere, Volume 3, it's 160 pages, has been the rest of the volumes, but this one is $19.99 for no reason. Or it'll be like, I think that was, and Dark Horse is the worst. Dark Horse, at least Marvel, they accommodate for the amount of pages. I don't believe they would put a 128-page graphic novel at a collected edition, graphic novel or otherwise, standard size softcover, I don't think they would ever put that at $19.99. And Dark Horse does that. And Dark Horse, the page that they use, the page they use, the paper that they use is not all that much better than, or all that much different than your average paper stock for graphic novels is. Paper stock is the exact same. Like, it's not that super thin kind where you can see the next page through the first page, you know, like, it's not that thin, but it's also like, why? But Dark Horse, even Dark Horse makes up for it with their omnibuses. They're not the size of your average omnibus, and some of them are softcover, but those are fairly priced. Like 16 issues of a series, I think it was like what, $30, and it was softcover, and it was a very well presented softcover. It was only 16 issues of a series. It was Hero County, specifically, and it was fairly priced. That too. I just said the same thing twice. It was the paper stock was also fine, and it was only 16 issues, so you didn't have to worry about the binding breaking on you. And even then, even if you were worried, Dark Horse had you covered. Like they, yeah. But anyways, the Shadow Planet. This is written by a bunch of names I'm gonna botch, so I'm just gonna show the page, the credits page. The sign just said sign. The sun just blinded me. There's the credits page. Let's put it a little closer. I don't know why I put it so far away. It wasn't like I was trying to kill two birds with one stone and show the artwork too. Because with the artwork, I like it to be 2 pages, like this. Even this I don't like, because this is, you get that big logo in the way. Also, I just realized it was NSFW. No, it wasn't. Not technically. This kind of is, but I'll just show the art. So the artwork here for the Shadow Planet. I know nothing about the series. I just saw it off a whim. Now, another thing that is funny about the way, like funny, not haha funny, but like strange funny about the way I collect graphic novels, and I really can't explain this other than it's like I feel more complete, I guess you could say. I really like it when I'll be looking up a graphic novel from Image. I'll just come across one and I'll look up the author's other work, and this is the only thing that they've done. Now, sometimes it's nice, obviously, with Kurt Busiek, like, not Kurt Busiek, Fabian Nicieza. You know, I never expected him to write a series for Image, especially recently. So it was a nice surprise. And it's like, oh, I actually want to get Free Agents more now than I would have if I just seen Kurt Busiek's name on it. Because it's co-authored by Kurt Busiek, Free Agents is. And so I was more inclined to buy that because of Fabian Nicieza's name. If it had been Kurt Busiek and just some random name, yeah, maybe I wouldn't have batted an eye, but if that was the only thing that other author had written, not just for Image, but in general, had the only thing he had ever written, he or she, I would definitely have been more inclined to pick it up. Same thing as Fabian Nicieza, would have been more inclined to pick it up than if it was just Kurt Busiek's name credited. Or the other name was someone who had written a bunch of graphic novels for Image, and, you know, like, it was like, you know, I'd be less inclined to buy that then. Unless I had enough money, I could get everything the co-author had done, and then get Free Agents. But definitely more inclined to buy that. It's definitely more of an impulse buy. That's why Crossroad Blues I was so excited to get this month. I thought it was the only thing that Ace Atkins had done for Image. At the very least, had just done for comics. So it's always just a nice novelty to see that. Now, sometimes Image does, sometimes Amazon does lie, and there's a series called The Iron Saint, and if you look up the writer from that link that they give you, it only shows The Iron Saint as his only credit for writing in general. That's all you see. But it's Jason Rubin, and Jason Rubin also wrote another series for Image called Mysterious Ways. And for whatever reason, Amazon does not show that right away. I found it out the hard way, and it was like a year later that I bought Mysterious Ways. For the longest time, being completely unbeknownst that writer had ever written anything else. So sometimes Amazon is inaccurate, and that's why I go to other places. And if you just do like Kurt Busiek, Image Comics, you'll get everything he did for Image Comics. It'll take a while because sometimes I like to show all the individual issues of a series. So that's why I go to places like, if I know it's like Brian K. Vaughan, I know it's going to take me forever to do it the Amazon way. So I'll go to League of Comic Book Geeks. And even they are a bit inaccurate too. Like even they, like, again, like with that, I do need to double check because they probably did say there was 2 volumes in that series. But when I looked up that Ace Atkins book, the Crossroad Blues book, that's all they showed. And sometimes they'll order it by series, but they showed that cover and it's the 2nd volume. So I just, like, even in retrospect, I'm kind of like, well, is that, were they just inaccurate, or was it it shows as a series and whatever? I don't know, but that's the way that League of Comic Book Geeks does it. Like free agents, they're not going to show each individual issue. They're gonna squeeze it all into one category, into one credit. They're not going to do each individual issue. They'll have let's say 7 issues, and then you'll click it and you'll see all the 7 issues, all the covers. If you want to see that, if you want to see all the covers, and they'll tell you the release date and all that other necessary information. But so I think you can also order from them too, because they show the cover. They show the cover. They'll show pre-orders. So yeah, you can order from them too. And you can also have discussions with other comic book fans on League of Comic Book Geeks and review comics on there. It's basically the best version of Goodreads. It's basically comic book Goodreads, like flat out your destination for reviewing graphic novels, and exclusively just graphic novels, not novels or movies or anything like that. Or those, like, Goodreads would not be movies, but Goodreads, like, they can give you the movie tie-in, the movie guide or whatever, and I think like the Art of Invincible, the TV show, and they'll say that's a graphic novel technically, but it's still based off a graphic novel series. But anyways, just how you get the movie guide, and it's based off the movie. But anyways, the Shadow Planet. So at the end of the day, what do I do if I don't know for sure? Like, League of Comic Book Geeks is inaccurate. I really just go by memory. Like, not just memory, but like common sense. Like, okay, I know one is missing from this series, or from this writer's credit for Image. So where is it? Why isn't it here? So sometimes that will happen with League of Comic Book Geeks. It's just mostly memory. I hope I don't find out the hard way that there was a graphic novel that I thought was its own credit, or whatever the hell, and there was more. I think that did happen once. I don't know. But anyways, moving on. Knights vs. Samurai, written by David Das Malchian, with artwork done by 2 foreign names, one being Federico Millet, but then the colorist is, so that's the artist, Federico Millet is, but the colorist is Ulysses Areola. I literally think that's how you say his last name, because that's not how you spell that word, but Areolo? Areola? No, this is an A at the end. That was Areolo. It was O-L-O. But no, it's literally spelled like that here. I don't know why I just did that. There we go. Much better. I don't know why I keep doing the thing where I'm showing off, like, I'm doing the artwork. But here's the credits page. Yeah. And I just did that as a pun. Not as a pun, but it's how it sounds. And sometimes it can also be a pun, but mostly that's how I see the person's name. You sound it out. That's that's by the laws of phonetics, but speaking phonetically, how you say that person's last name or first name or whatever. I mean, melee, like, that's not how you even spell melee. Like melee, like the melee with your knife. They say that in Call of Duty, or melee, like Smash Bros. Melee. It's not spelled like that. It's M-E-L-E. There's a missing E. If you want to spell that the right way, missing E. This collects all 6 issues of Knights vs. Samurai. The first non-original graphic novel, because the first 3 are all original graphic novels. Knights vs. Samurai's original graphic novel. Superstar, I think, was. I don't know. And then Crossroad Blues, of course. Crossroad Blues was also a original graphic novel. And by original graphic novel, I mean, like, this collects 6 issues. This is what's called a collected edition. This is a original graphic novel. This collects 6 issues. This, if anything, just collects issue 1 of the Shadow Planet. It's a one-shot if you want to give it in those terms. It's usually like OGNs is always, it's just, it was never released as issues before. Sometimes I'll get it as chapters, so I'll get confused and think that it collects 3 issues, but OGN means this was originally released as this. It's literally, as the name implies, an original graphic novel. Now, David Dastmalchian, this is another interesting name, because the main draw for this series, first of all, Knights vs. Samurai, like, just by the title itself, also was a draw for me. This draw to the series for me, drew me to the series. Enticed me, but also what was enticing was the name David Dastmalchian. David Dastmalchian, those of you who don't know, starred in one of the most underrated and underappreciated and just one of the overall best horror movies the last 10 years, Late Night with the Devil. Just so damn good, and he obviously did a great performance and all of that, so it was like, hey, actor turned comic book writer. That's pretty cool. You know, sometimes they'll get actor turned author because they want to write their story and write their little memoir, but or they just so happen to write novels on the side, like how we had a president who was an actor before they became president. But this was cool. Like, this is the Ronald Reagan of graphic novel writers. It's crazy to think that he's now a comic book writer. And of course, it's, well, will he be as good a writer as he is an actor? Well, we'll see. What's kind of disappointing about this is that, so this collects all 6 issues of the series. Now, it's not, now, I say all, because it was supposed to be more, but the series got canceled. I don't know if David Dastmalchian is too tied down to other roles. He's, whatever. I don't know. His son is really starting to annoy me. But my hypothesis, so to speak, no. You can't use a science word like that. My theory is that he is tied down, and that, so I kind of two kind of like, I'm like, well, it could be this, well, it could be that. The other thing is that it just got canceled. We're not going to get any more issues of the series. Now, it says canceled on Image Comics' website. That's what they will say for a series if it doesn't meet the due date. So, it says releasing December 31st, 1999. It never comes out. Well, it's canceled now. A better example would be Star Signs. We were supposed to have the graphic novel collection by now. It's a series written by Solomon Oddman, published by Image, but we don't have issues 8 and 9, and it's still no news on it continuing. What happened with Philadelphia was they came out with the collection for Volume 6, and there was no issue 36 included in it. They just decided, you know what, issue 36 is just never going to come out. And what's kind of annoying is that was supposed to be the end of the story arc. So it was one issue shy of ending that arc and getting that graphic novel complete. So now Volume 6 is technically incomplete because it's 31 to 35. And so Star Scientist never even bothered with the graphic novel, but I guess because Philadelphia is an ongoing, they decided, well, we might as well just get the Volume 5 out there. Redneck by Donny Cates. That's looking like it's they're going to come back. Sometimes it will come back. Like Saga, I wonder if they ever said it was canceled on the Image Comics' website, because they obviously never met that due date. So they just decided, I don't know what the hell happened there, specifically, because I wasn't collecting back then. But then it came back. I wasn't, like, super into collecting Image back then. Like, I was kind of like, oh, okay, I'll get Saga, and I didn't really care what the publisher, like, what the publisher was. Now I'm, like, dead set on what a publisher, and what the publisher is, so I'm like, you know, I'll know that. I'll know more information than I did before. When I was just collecting, and I was like, yeah, I know these writers, and I would know more, I knew more about the big two than anything else. But that's another tangent that I'm not going to get into. Let's get back onto the other, let's get back to task at hand. I don't know why I keep saying, like, task at hand doesn't make any sense. It doesn't sound right. I don't know why I keep, like, doing that. But anyways, even that was, I can't talk. That's the whole point. That's what I was trying to say. But Knights versus Samurai could come back. My whole entire point was Knights versus Samurai could come back. It could be the saga where it comes back after a hiatus. Hopefully not as long as Saga's was. But Knights versus Samurai. And it does, I always wonder, because I always heard the series. I always heard the story about, remember the story. Always heard the story. You always hear. If you're not deaf, you always hear. I remember hearing the story about Something is Killing the Children and how it started out as a miniseries, was so popular, and now it's an ongoing forever and ever and ever. And it's going to go till issue 5,000 like Spawn does, and have 18 spin-offs like Spawn does. Yeah, it's a little tangent, a little bit of a rant there, because Something is Killing the Children is kind of annoying to collect. Now, it's fine if they just had 2 spin-offs, but they had like these like one-shots that were $10, and it was like it would come out of nowhere. And if you didn't have them, my local comic shop, this is why I stopped collecting floppies, by the way. My local comic shop, one of the reasons, my local comic shop would just not have issue 28. They'd have issues 29 and 30, but unless you camped out the night before, they would not have issue 28. And I am a firm believer in they never even got it. Not that it was out of stock, they never even got it. And it was just the one that I went to. The comic shop I went to, they just never had it. And that's why, first of all, I don't even go to the comic shop anymore. And I do want to, I do go every now and then. It's a rarity. Like for my birthday this past year, instead of getting gifts from from one of the people, motherfucker, I'm doing that right now. Instead of goddamn text distracted me. Instead of getting gifts from that person, I said I want money instead, and I went shopping to the comic shop. So that's usually what rarity happens, or I'll just happen to be going to the mall, and I'll hit the comic shop. But usually it's Amazon, and I'm fine with that. And it's not just Amazon too. Like I'll do eBay, all that, but it's all online. And I'm mostly fine with that because in a comic shop, they're not going to be. It's not a guarantee they'll have what you're looking for. Like unfortunately, my local comic shop, even if it was a new release graphic novel, even then it wasn't a guarantee they'd have it. I remember trying to look for free agents when I went to the mall. I hate to say this, but my most recent time going there, and they didn't have it. Or was it free agents? It was something else. It was actually I think it was 2 times. I don't know. But anyways, let's move on. Oh, and I went there when I was shopping for my nephew. He also likes graphic novels, so I'll try and get like him like the I'm getting him the digest Marvel Masterworks, because it's Silver Age. It's like way back in the beginning of these characters these comics runs. It's like way back in the beginning of Spider-Man, Avengers, all that. And when I started getting him, when I started getting them for him, he didn't know how to read, so it was kind of like, oh, let's look at the pictures. And Spider-Man, he knows Spider-Man. But nowadays, he is like slowly but surely learning to read. I think he can actually read, like fully read now. But anyways, next up is G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, The Silent Missions. This is, as the name implies, silent. What do they mean by that? Well, there's no dialogue. So it started out way back in the day, way back in the original Larry Hama Marvel Comics run, as you see here. That's actually collected in this graphic novel. Now, I couldn't see, the last time I did this, I couldn't read the print because it was so small, and it was also getting darker. But I can't even hear. It's not saying originally published in single issues, blah blah blah. So I'm not 100% sure, but I believe the issue of the original series that's collected in here is issue 21 of the original Larry Hama series. I was talking about Marvel Comics and all that, but what I know for a fact is collected in here is the one-shots Beachhead, Jinx, Spirit, Roadblock, and Duke. Now I'm going to show the credits page, and I have to do a 2-page spread because there's 2 pages of credits pages. It's not like the other side where it's all the editors and the cover of the not just the editor-in-chief and all these other names that I'm like, well, it's not technically a credits page. I'm technically crediting them. Like, you know, have like, what was the other one I was kind of, I always thought was weird. I don't know. But this, yeah, the entire graphic novel, I don't think has a single word of dialogue. If there's stuff written on, like, a store, like a storefront, like if it's saying bakery, they'll have that, they'll show that, but they're not going to have dialogue, like, at all. Because the reason why I say I'm pretty sure is that sometimes, like, so I'm going by what Marvel Comics does. And Marvel Comics, you'd have, like, one bit of dialogue, like a few bits of dialogue here and there. From what I remember, there was a few that did that. But for the most part, like, enough set issues were completely silent. No dialogue whatsoever. So I think that's pretty cool. The whole entire graphic novel does that. And there's all one-shots. I think they're done. I don't think they're going to do a Volume 2. It says Volume 1 here, but no news on it continuing. Looks like they're just going to do the... Oh, here it is. So it was issue 21. I was right. Nice. And all the one-shots for Beachhead, Jinx, Spirit, Roadblock, and Duke. Okay. Next up, we have a series that I thought was never coming back. Speaking of, you know, canceled, whatever that. But this is more, this is different. This is Bitter... Why? Well, I'll explain. This is Bitterroot Volume 4, The Next Movement. So why is it different? Well, this collects issues 1 through 5 of the miniseries called The Next Movement. It's not issues 16 to 20. It's just a 5-issue miniseries they call The Next Movement. What's helpful, though, is they do say right here, Volume 4. So if you're a trade waiter like myself, you're no longer confused, because you just see Volume 4 before you even see what it's even collected here. So I think that's good. However, it's kind of like, well, it's also kind of confusing, because also kind of annoying, too, because you still did the 1 through 5, because it's confusing for people who are not trade waiters. So I used to not be a trade waiter, and here is the artwork for Bitterroot. This series I absolutely loved. Didn't like it the first time I read it, but then I don't think I even finished it, Volume 1, but then I reread it like a year later and I absolutely adored it. Like, it was like a complete turnaround, and never looked back, obviously. So David F. Walker and Chuck Brown are the writers, Sanford Green is the artist, with Matt Herms being the colorist. And Chuck Brown, like, it's one of those, this is the antithesis to Free Agents, where I love both writers. Both writers are just as great as the other one is. Chuck Brown's a really damn good writer. I loved his series from Image. I'm not going to have results from Image. A mini-series, Flawed. And then David F. Walker is just written other books I really liked. Not a big fan. It was kind of ironic because this is historical fiction. Not a big fan of his historical comics. It's from a publisher. I think it's First Second. No, it's not First Second. I forget what it was, but it's the Black Panther Party. Black Panther Party by David F. Walker. I thought the way he wrote it was just very dry. It was just like reading a textbook as a graphic novel, with nothing changed, nothing added except for the pictures, and I thought it was just very dry. I like the Huckleberry Finn one. I think it was the same publisher, but that was an actual story. They'd bounce back and forth. When necessary, they'd bounce back and forth. I know if they were to change, if they switch a textbook to graphic novel, I understand that sometimes you do have to have the just explaining without showing, just have the artwork. I know sometimes it has to be dry, and it can't always be, super engaging. But just, that's how I am. And honestly, like, think it's just the way that textbooks are written. Obviously, like I obviously really like novels. I read one recently that I published. I actually did a review on Instagram that was just a novel itself. It wasn't a graphic novel. It had pictures, sure, but it was a it's called the part-time the Diary of a Part-Time Indian, something like that. It was a really good novel. I highly recommend it. But like that, I don't like. It's not like, oh, it's just text. You know, you can read the pictures. No, it's not that. My defense, I do like, but I just wanted a little side note there, because it was making it sound like it was just because it was text. No, obviously not. And if you're asking that, you're at the wrong place, because this is graphic novels, and graphic novels can be just as good as novels. Okay. Next book is Bug Wars by Jason Aaron, collecting all first six issues of this ongoing series, which I know is already coming back for at least a one-shot in January of 2026. So written by Jason Aaron, with artwork done by Mahmoud Asrar, colored by Matthew Wilson. Now this one was another anticipated release. So Bitter Root was just Bitter Root. You know, I love that series. It's coming back, and it looks like that this is all we're gonna get. I honestly, the other day, I was thinking, like, why is that compendium for Bitter Root being delayed? And then I wondered to myself, oh, not delayed, but canceled. Like, no lessons whatsoever for it anymore. And I thought to myself, well, maybe it's because they're gonna put this in there, and the compendium will be the omnibus, but more complete. And I'll probably just buy that at that point, and then probably just read that, and then keep the omnibus, obviously. But so the omnibus for Bitter Root is just a binding. It's kind of awful, and even Omar has gone on record I would highly recommend just watching his video on the Bitter Root omnibus overview, because he goes into details about why exactly it's kind of a shitty printing. But basically, TLDR, when I was flipping through it, it felt like it was gonna fall apart. Like it was gonna completely come apart. Like the page was gonna fall out, fly out, like explode, all that. However, I have flipped through it. I've just like I was reading it as if I were reading it. I just did page by page. Looks like a good. So, I don't know. But anyways, Bug Wars Volume 1, 1 through 6. Creditors, I just credited. So, this one did come out of nowhere. It was like, oh, Jason Aaron, he hasn't written anything for Image in a while. Well, here he is with Bug Wars. And that's been happening a lot recently. I'll look at the solicitations for, so we now got January, and that was in October, so November, December, January. 3 months ahead. So I'll see the solicitations for 3 months ahead, and then I'll see, like best example is the writer for Frank J. Barbier. He did Violent Love. I knew the name of the book before I knew the writer. But Frank J. Barbier. He, for the longest time, it was just Violent Love in Five Ghosts. Even Five Ghosts got canceled. I was canceled indefinitely. Like, no news on issue 16. Wasn't even showing up on Image. Like, there's no, solicits whatsoever. It was just canceled indefinitely. On hiatus, is the word I should use. I should differentiate the two. But it was on hiatus for indefinitely. Saga. And so that was all. And it was like, that's all there is. And it's out of nowhere, author immortal. And it kind of makes me a little bit angry, because it's like, well, the longest time I felt so complete, because I'm going by publisher, not by his credits in general. So it's like, okay, he's got this series from Comixology, and I can get it for free. That's awesome. And then out of nowhere, here's author immortal, Image Comics. It's more the completest to me. Like, it definitely will be worth it in the end. And hey, Jason Aaron, a writer I absolutely love, has more books I can buy from him. Perfect. So it's, at the end of the day, it's fine, but it's just one of those things that kind of does irk me. Next up is Olympos Nullhunter. This one I got off a third-party seller called because I'm under early, called My Comic Shop, and My Comic Shop is it's economy shipping, so it takes longer, and I'm not going on a super long tangent because we are already 44 minutes in. So if I go any closer, that window right in front of me, the sun will blind me. So I had to look at it twice to kind of to see how long we were going for. So I saw 41 minutes at first. Because again, I got blinded. And here's the artwork for Olympos Nullhunter. Now, it's worth getting blinded by the sun because I like filming. This is the perfect natural lighting for me. When it's perfectly sunny, not a cloud in the sky. Beautiful. Yes, this collects all 10 issues of Olympos Nullhunter, written by Michael Walsh. Issue 7 being written by Gustavo Vargas. Issue 8 being written by Aaron Alosti. And then the artist here is Gustavo Vargas. And this was advertised as a retelling of a cyber... Oh, here it is, right here. A neon-infused cyberpunk retelling of the classic Greek myth, The Labors of Hercules, set among the stars. Count me in. I was already planning on getting this because it was, at the time, the only other Michael Walsh series he's writing for Image. Like, he did Silver Coin, I already had that. Frankenstein I'd already got in, but then he does Olympos Nullhunter, and it was 10 issues, and when issue 1 got released, I was like, okay, I'm going to the trade come out, but then by the time the trade comes out, honestly, by the time issue 8 comes out, I believe, Exquisite Corpses comes out, and he's co-writing some issues of that series. So there's a co-writer each issue. Its main writer is James Tynion. He's every issue he's writing, so it's his baby, and then every issue it'll be a new author. Sometimes the same author. Like, you'll get 2 issues written by Pornsack Pachodi, 2 or more issues written by Michael Walsh, but it's like a new writer every issue, and I thought that was pretty cool. But anyways, Olympos Nullhunter. I know I already showed the artwork. I did it twice. Dracula, a storybook portfolio. I saw this as a visual storybook, so I don't know why. I think on Image, the website, it says visual storybook. But what does it mean by that? So this is written and drawn by J.H. Williams III. But actually, it's just drawn by J.H. Williams III because this appears to be the original Dracula novel retold, like, in its entirety, no dialogue taken out, no additional dialogue, don't change dialogue at all, I don't think. I think it's the original presentation, but with added artwork. Which I think is really cool. And is that doing the same thing for you? Yes, it is. With added artwork. Yes. Is it better? The glare. I don't know if that's happening for you guys too, but I can see it here, like that. Alright. So I thought that was pretty cool. For the longest time I did not get this. I just kind of was like, oh, it's... I don't know. It wasn't planning... If I already wasn't planning on reading the original Dracula novel because of how old it is and the, old... So I'm that kind of guy who can't read classic novels that are older than 1900 because of the way they talked back then. It was kind of hard to understand, so it's like, if I'm not going to do that with the original Dracula novel, then why get the visual storybook? I thought that was pretty stupid to do. At the end of the day, also there's another J.H. Williams graphic novel from Image that I also got, so I'm like, yeah, why not? So I'm going to show right now, right? Can we do that? Yeah, let's do this right now. Alright, which that is Echolands by J.H. Williams III. This is widescreen comics, and I do not like reading comics in this format. And it should be pretty obvious to most of you why that is the case when I show the 2-page spread, actually the artwork. Yeah. Imagine reading a book like this. Now, it's not the worst, but definitely not my preferred way of reading graphic novels. And for the longest time, I didn't even, I ignored this book. I was like, this is one I read before, and I did like it. I remember pretty much really digging it, and honestly, if it had not been for the format I probably would have given it a higher rating, but it was just really annoying reading this, and it was kind of just not necessary to present it in this format. I know it's, it's Image Comics is for the creators. It's the Jax films credit the creators taken to the umpteenth degree, so they all, it's creators' rights, all that good stuff. So if the writer J.H. Williams wants it to be a widescreen comic, he gets his wish. But I just do not like this format. It's just a really annoying way of reading comics, in my opinion, because I have to do this, and it's more like and this at least is 6 issues, so I can read it 6 times, 6 different times, like 6 different days. That's how I read graphic novels. But there's an OGN, and I only get one by chapter, and I just decided to read it all at once, and that was really annoying. It's just irritating. I shouldn't be irritated when reading a graphic novel because of the format it's released in. Again, at least with Long Hot Summer, when I'm holding the book, it's easy to hold. And hey, those books are easy to carry around. This really isn't. And on the shelf, at least it's not the only book I own that is in that format by a wide margin. If you see, I can't show my shelves. I can't do unfortunately, I can't do the thing that Android phones do or TikTok does. You can just hit a button and it flips from this side to the other side. But I have all of my digest size books in one area, and then after that is the smaller books. So it just goes smaller books, digest size for that row shelves, and then just a normal average the standard size soft covers for Image. So that at least is fine, but this I am not putting on my shelf. This is going to be annoying because not only is it widescreen, so it's wider, but put on the shelf, it'll jut out. It'll either not go all the way in on the shelf. It's like, oh, I put it like this. No, I don't know about that, because then you can't see the spine. So this will stay off the shelf for now. Now I do have more than one of these widescreen comics. I decided to go all out for 2 series, so that at least is the case. At least we got that. At least there's that. But still, no. If you can actually see on the thumbnail for this video, it juts out very far, and it's really annoying. Standstill. So not only it juts out of the shelf, but in order to show all the spines, I had to push it to where here it was here. So I pushed it back, you couldn't even see it. Anyways, Standstill, collecting all 8 issues of Standstill, written by Lee Luthridge, who does story and color. So he's a colorist turned writer. I thought that was pretty cool. Andrew Robinson does the artwork for issues 1 through 4, and Alex Regal doing the art for 4 through 8. So issue 4 has two artists, but then the rest of it is just Alex Regal. And here is the artwork for Standstill. Now, if they were... So, when Standstill was released in the original issues, this is why I almost bought the original issues and not the trade. That's kind of the opposite of how I like to do that. So what happened was it was the original... It looked like it was your standard size for floppies, but when you opened it, it was that landscape way of reading comics. I like to call it the centerfold. So it was the entire, every single page was the centerfold. So you flipped it around, and that's how you read it. So that's why when they come out with a graphic novel, it's the widescreen comics. That's how he originally wanted it, obviously, clearly. Now this is Barrier by Brian K. Vaughan. It goes in order for the names. I know Brian K. Vaughan's a writer, that much I know. Now Marcos Martin, is he the artist and colorist, or is Munza Vicente the colorist? Usually they don't have, if they have it's 3 names here, usually they won't credit the letterer, but I don't know, because they don't specify. But this is Barrier, written by Brian K. Vaughan. This one, I thought was out of print, out of stock. You can't get it, unless you want to spend $100 on a book that has a list price of $30. Lo and behold, eBay comes along and says, hey, third party seller, here it is. Now, so I was looking at listings, and it was showing the issues. And I was like, and then they had the box set, and I was like, wait, what? This is confusing. I thought it was a hardcover. No. They decided to do that. Instead of having a hardcover, widescreen comic, they just said, hey, let's put all 5 issues, squeeze them into a box set. And I think that's pretty cool. So I don't even consider this to be a graphic novel. This is the whole reason why I'm calling it comic/graphic novel haul for October 2025. This is a floppy in my opinion. In my opinion. And even if it's a box set, like it's still like Saga doesn't count as 1 unit. If I got that box set, it's 9 issues. It's 9 volumes. Anyways, so same thing here. Issue 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I think we're only getting, so I know there's a glare, but it's only for me. But there's a second glare that's shown for you guys. I don't think there is. I think it's just the artwork that was doing that. And here is the artwork for Barrier. And that's fine. So this is my preferred. If you have to do widescreen comics, do it like this, in my opinion. It's manageable. It's because again, it's a standard size floppy, just turned around on its side. So it's not that cumbersome to read. But widescreen comic is just all kinds of cumbersome. The definition of cumbersome. So Private Eye is actually wider than Echolands and Standstill was. And this is an original graphic novel too. Like it's originally, so it doesn't even go by chapter. So reading is all in one sitting, I decided to hell with it. Yeah, that was really annoying. And I think I gave it a pretty low score, and a lot of it was because of just unfair disadvantages this graphic novel had. All in all, I liked it. For the most part, I did like it. But it's just, again, that way of reading graphic novels, I don't prefer whatsoever. Same credits for Barrier, Brian K. Vaughan, Marcos Martin, and Munsa Vicente. Don't know who's who. Does not tell you. It's really annoying. Oh no, this does go by chapter. Oh my god, this does go by chapter. See? Chapter 1. So why did I not read it by chapter? I should have just done that. Maybe I did. It's been a while. The only thing I remember from when I was reading this was that I had to wait a little bit longer because I originally got this from a local library, and the way it was just a way I would do library hauls because of library review, like when I would read the comics and I return them, because of the way I was doing it back then. I would just do it all at once. So if I had 20 books checked out and I wanted to put 21 books in, if a 40 unit limit, I'd have to wait on one. And for the longest time, they just were fine with it because they knew I would return it. So like, yeah, just return enough so we can give you the extra book and you'll have 41 books checked out. And then I got the library and I didn't know that, and it was really annoying. And the situation was annoying because it was more like, well, now it's like, I get what you're saying. I get that I need to return some books, but it was kind of irritating. But anyways, the Private Eye. So what happened is what happened specifically was I was waiting to return them all at once. I could have probably returned like 5 out of this 15, but yeah, no, I didn't do that. But nowadays, especially because I I'm there every day, 5 days out of the week, so every work day I'm there. I just return as I can. Now I don't do one. Like if I return one book, I return the next day. Movies, yes, I'll do that, but graphic novels, no. I try to do like at least 4 at a time, because again, I if I'm returning it, I can't show the book when I'm reviewing it. So and I like to show the book, so I like to do this. Specifically, I like to do Dracula. This book was really good, blah, 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 blah. So I like to show the book itself and not just be Dracula, blah, 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 blah. No. But anyways, that, as they say, is that. This has been an hour-long video. We're done.